thermodynamics. It is a branch where we will study about the exchange of heat in a chemical reaction, exchange of heat in a chemical reaction. Now, in this thermodynamics, we have to learn some of the terms like system. System, in the sense, a part of the universe which is under study, a part of the universe under study. For example, you have 6 subjects and you have selected one particular subject to study in this particular moment. So that subject what you have selected is considered as the system, and the remaining subjects will be considered as surrounding. So in chemistry, the part which you are studying is considered as system. The remaining rest of the part is considered as surrounding. And between system and surrounding, we can find a boundary. Between system and surrounding, there will be a boundary. That boundary, it may be real or it may be imaginary, real or imaginary. For example, if you have taken water in a beaker, the walls of the beaker, it will be real, through which you can find the volume. On the surface of the water, there is one boundary which you cannot see through a naked eye, but it is an imaginary. The boundary will be imaginary, that at the present at the surface. So between system and surrounding, we can find boundary. The boundaries may be real, it may be imaginary. The other types of boundaries like rigid, or it may be flexible. Rigid in the sense that means here the boundary cannot be moved. The boundary here cannot be moved. If the boundary can be moved with the help of piston, then that boundary is considered as flexible. The boundary is flexible. Diathermic boundary means here from the boundary heat can exchange. Such type of boundary is considered as diathermic. If across the boundary heat cannot exchange, that is adiabatic boundary. These terms you have to remember. Now let us see the types of system: open, closed and isolated. Open system, for example, you can see here one conical flask, some content in that, and the conical flask is open. Now through which what happens? Energy as well as matter can exchange. Open type of system is a system through which energy as well as matter can exchange. In closed type of system, as you can see, the mouth of the conical flask has been closed. So here energy can exchange through this boundary between the system and surrounding, whereas matter cannot exchange. That is closed system. In isolated system, around the closed conical flask, you can find one insulated boundary through which neither matter nor energy can exchange. That is considered as isolated system. For example, thermoflask where you have kept the coffee or tea, that remains hot if it is not opened frequently. That is an example for isolated system. Now here we need to learn about two functions, a state function and path function. Now state function depends on initial and final state, and here these are the state functions: pressure, temperature, volume, enthalpy, internal energy and entropy. So wherever there is a symbol called delta, remember that is a state function. Path function, it depends on the path, and only work and heat are the path function. Remember, only work and heat are the path function. Now extensive property and intensive property. Remember, extensive property are the property that depends on the mass of the system, and intensive property do not depend on the mass of the system. Remember, extensive property depends on mass and intensive property independent on mass. Examples we must remember: mass, volume, internal energy, heat capacity, enthalpy, entropy, energy, Gibbs energy. These are all extensive property. Intensive property, which are pressure, temperature, density, concentration, melting point, boiling point, surface tension and viscosity. These are the examples for extensive and intensive property, very important for the exam. Now, types of thermodynamic process. Before that, we must remember thermodynamics variables. Thermodynamics variables includes pressure, temperature, volume, heat, work, internal energy, enthalpy, entropy, and Gibbs free energy. Out of these four are very, very important for thermodynamic process. Which are those? Pressure, temperature, volume, and heat. These variables are important for thermodynamics process. So first type of thermodynamics process is isothermal process. Isothermal process means what? Here temperature remains constant throughout the process. Temperature remains constant and delta T is equal to 0. Delta T is equal to 0 because temperature remains constant. So delta T is 0. In that case, if you use ideal gas equation, we will get PV is equal to constant. Our pressure is inversely proportional to volume. Pressure inversely proportional to volume. If you increase the pressure, volume decreases. Now, second thermodynamic process is isobaric process. Bar is the unit of pressure. So, isobaric process means the process where pressure remains constant. If pressure remains constant, delta P is equal to 0. If delta P is equal to 0, then volume is directly proportional to temperature. Means if you increase the temperature, volume increases. And isochoric process means here volume remains constant. In isochoric process, volume remains constant. Delta V is equal to 0. Here see P1, T1, P2, V2. Here V is the same in the initial state and in the final state. In both the cases, the volume is remains same. In the P1, pressure P1, volume same. Pressure P2, if you increase the pressure to P2, volume here also same. So in isochoric process, volume remains constant. Whereas in adiabatic process, what happens? The transfer of heat is 0. Transfer of heat to the system is 0, which means what? Q is equal to 0 in adiabatic process. Now, internal energy, the symbol is U. Internal energy means, for example, in thermodynamics, any kind of system means a gas-filled area that is associated with the piston. With the help of this piston, we can increase the pressure or decrease the pressure. That is, we can imagine as a system. Now, in that system, we have taken a few moles of gas. Those gas molecules are moving. They have some kinetic energy and potential energy. If you rotational energy also, vibrational energy also. If you add all those energy associated with that particles present in the system, that is considered as internal energy. So we can define internal energy as sum of all the components of energy due to internal factor of the system. Sum of all the components of energy due to internal factor. So U is internal energy. U is internal energy, that is equal to sum of kinetic energy and potential energy. And remember students, very, very important, internal energy is a state function and it is extensive property. Internal energy is a extensive property and delta U is a change in internal energy. Internal energy change is delta U. Now, first law of thermodynamics, it states what? So energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be simply converted from one form to another. If you consider this is a system having U1 internal energy, if you apply E1 amount of energy, that will be converted into E2 form of energy. Means energy can neither be created nor be destroyed from the surrounding. If you supply some energy, it will release energy in another form. Okay, it can neither be created nor be destroyed. And U means what? Internal energy of a system. Internal energy of a system remains constant unless energy is transferred from surrounding in the form of heat or work. Internal energy of a system remains constant unless you transfer energy from the surrounding in the form of heat or work. Now, mathematical expression of first law of thermodynamics, what mathematical expression? Delta U is equal to Q plus W. Delta U is what? Internal energy change. Q is heat, what you have supplied to the system. W is work done by the system. So delta U can be calculated as a final internal energy minus initial internal energy. So delta U is a change in internal energy. Q is heat supplied to the system. W is work done on the system. W is work done on the system. So you have to remember here sign. If the work done by the system, negative. If work done on the system, positive. Those signs we must remember. So here work done by the system, always we have to represent in the form of negative. That shows expansion of the gas. Work done by the system means it is negative. Expansion of the gas is an example. Work done on the system, positive, always positive. W is equal to positive. It leads to compression of the gas. Heat given to the system, positive. Heat released by the system, negative. So remember, work done by the system, negative. Work done on the system is positive. Very, very important. Now reversible process means what? Remember children, here reversible process means external pressure is variable. Pressure may increase or pressure may decrease. That is in reversible process. Whereas in irreversible process, what happens? External pressure remains constant. In irreversible process, external pressure remains constant. Let us know about work done or work done, nothing but change in volume. For rigid substance, we know for rigid substance, delta V, change in volume is 0. You cannot change the volume. Delta V is equal to 0. In that case, work done is 0. For rigid substance, if delta V is equal to 0, work done also 0. If delta V is not equal to 0, then work done. Okay, if delta V is not equal to 0, it indicates what? Work is done by the system. If delta T is equal to 0, delta U also 0. Remember that. Now the expression for pressure volume work is W is work minus symbol is what? Work done by the system. Integration of initial volume to final volume, external pressure into dV. Now for irreversible process, what we know, we have already learned external pressure is constant. For irreversible process, external pressure is constant. So from as pressure is constant, we have to take it outside from the integration. We have already learned W is equal to minus integration of V1 to V2 P delta V. So as in case of irreversible process, pressure is constant. So we have to take it out from the integration sign. That's why equation for irreversible process, work done by irreversible process is W is equal to minus external pressure into V2 minus V1. Very, very important formula for irreversible process where external pressure is constant. And for reversible isothermal process, pressure is variable. Pressure may increase or decrease. So if you rearrange the formula of ideal gas, we get P is equal to nRT by V. For reversible isothermal process, pressure is variable. Now for that case, in place of P, we can substitute this value nRT by V. So we will get W is equal to minus integration of initial volume to final volume V2 in place of P, nRT by V into delta V. So as number of moles gas constant, R temperature is constant, isothermal means temperature constant, R is universal gas constant, N is number of moles, this will be constant. So that we have to take it outside from the integration symbol. So we can rearrange the formula for reversible isothermal process. W is equal to minus nRT integration of initial volume to final volume dV by V. Now when you apply the log, you get this equation. Remember, for reversible isothermal process, work done is equal to minus 2.303 RT by log of V2 by V1. In case of pressure, minus 2.303 nRT log of P1 by P2. These formulas we have to remember. Now sign convention for work in case of expansion and compression. During expansion of a gas, volume V2, final volume is greater than initial volume. And delta V is always positive and W is negative, work done by the system in case of expansion. Whereas in compression, remember, final volume is less than initial volume and delta V is negative and W is equal to positive, because during compression work done on the system. That's why W is equal to positive. This sign you have to remember. Now types of process, let us recall. isothermal. In case of isothermal, delta T is equal to 0, then delta U is equal to 0, then Q is equal to minus W. Just recall here the formula, first law of thermodynamics, delta U is equal to Q plus W. If you apply that in case of isothermal, means temperature constant, delta T is equal to 0. If delta T is equal to 0, delta U is equal to 0, then Q is equal to minus W. Isobaric, pressure constant delta P is equal to 0. Isochoric, delta V is equal to 0, then W is equal to 0 and delta U is equal to Q. Adiabatic, Q, heat is equal to 0, then delta U is equal to W. Now remember, enthalpy H is the net heat content of the system. So formula is H is equal to U plus PV. Okay, sum of internal energy and product of pressure and volume is enthalpy of a system. Now delta H means what? Enthalpy change is equal to what? QP means what? At constant pressure, heat provided to the system, heat provided to the system is enthalpy change. Remember that. So enthalpy change delta H, let us how to apply for this for any kind of equation. Now we have one equation, reactant A and reactant B combines to give product C and product D. Here small a, small b, small c and small d are the stoichiometric coefficient. For that case, the formula of enthalpy change is delta H is equal to delta U plus delta N gas RT. Delta H is enthalpy change, delta U is internal energy change, delta N is a change in the number of moles of gaseous products and reactants, R is universal gas constant, T is temperature. Now how we got that equation? We know enthalpy is equal to H is equal to U plus PV. Now when we apply change symbol, delta H is equal to delta U plus P delta V, because P is constant, P delta V. Now we can remember that PV is equal to nRT, ideal gas equation. Now in place of PV, we can use this nRT. So we got this equation, delta H is equal to delta U plus delta nRT by applying universal gas constant. And how to find out delta N? Change in the number of moles. How to find out? Number of moles of product minus number of moles of reactant. Number of moles of product minus number of moles of reactant. Delta N we can calculate. Now what is heat capacity? Heat capacity is the amount of heat required to rise the temperature of any system by 1 degree. Remember, heat required, amount of heat required to rise the temperature of a system, by 1 degree Celsius. For example, we have one system with 25 degrees Celsius. If you want to rise the temperature of a system to 26 degrees Celsius, how much heat has to be required? That is heat capacity. So heat capacity C is equal to Q by delta T, or Q is equal to C delta T. Unit is what? Joules per degree Celsius. And remember, heat capacity is extensive property. It is an extensive property. Now specific heat capacity means what? Amount of heat required to rise the temperature of 1 kg of a substance by 1 degree. 1 kg, a specific mass we have taken, mass 1 kg, delta T 1 degree Celsius. Okay, if mass is 1 kg and delta T should be 1 degree, how much heat has to be supplied? That is specific heat capacity. So specific heat capacity S is equal to Q by M delta T. So here heat Q, M mass, both are extensive property. The ratio of two extensive property will be intensive. Remember that. So specific heat capacity is an intensive property. Very, very important question. Now molar heat capacity, CM, means what? It is the amount of heat required to rise the temperature of 1 mole of a substance. Here 1 mole. 1 mole of a substance by 1 degree Celsius. Formula what? CM is equal to Q by N delta T. Unit joules per mole Kelvin, and it is intensive. Remember, molar heat capacity is intensive property as well as path function, not state function, path function. Molar heat capacity is a path function. Now molar heat capacity at constant volume CV. Formula what? QV is equal to delta U. At constant volume delta V is equal to 0. That's why QV, heat capacity at constant volume, is equal to delta U. Now delta U formula what? N is equal to CV by delta T. In the previous formula we have learned. So molar heat capacity at constant volume, QV, is equal to N into CV delta T. N is number of moles, CV is constant volume, delta T change in the temperature. Molar heat capacity at constant pressure Cp. Here also heat capacity, molar heat capacity at constant pressure Qp is equal to delta H. So delta H formula what? N is equal to Cp into delta T. So molar heat capacity at constant pressure Qp is equal to N into Cp into delta T. Now remember the relation between Cp and Cv is equal to Cp minus Cv is equal to R. Cp minus Cv is equal to R. And Poisson's ratio nothing but gamma is equal to the ratio of Cp and Cv, that is Poisson's ratio.